Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. I'm Bill.
I'm Linda.
I'm Seth.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Chris.
And today we're going to talk about the new Willow series that's out. Jenna's going to kind of take point on that, and then talk a little bit about Vox Machina. Their new season is out. And we're going to kind of round it out with some discussion on The Last of Us, which is kind of a horrifying show that I'm really liking. So, so I think let's turn it over to Jenna to begin with. Jenna, go ahead.
So this series is based off the 1988 movie, which was obviously one of the best fantasy movies of all time, or at least maybe obvious to me. I don't know. And it's set approximately 17 years after the original series, in which an unlikely group of 6 heroes sets off on a dangerous quest to places far beyond their home, where they must face their inner demons and come together to save the world from the Gales. So the premise is that beyond Bavmordia, which was the villain of the first movie, there is this figure called the Crone, who is this ultimate sorceress of evil who's trying to help the worm, which eats magic of the world, be released to basically create the apocalypse. Mm-hmm. And because of this, because of Laura Dannon, the baby was supposed to save the world and be usher this new age of peace. But there's this threat. Queen Sorsha, who was the daughter who fell in love with Mad Mardigan, Val Kilmer's character, became queen and decided to hide her from herself, and basically not let Willow train her to do magic like he wanted to do, because the thought was if she's protected, no one ever finds her, then the end of the this dark evil won't take her and create the end of the world. Well, that did a lot of good. Obviously not, because then we wouldn't have had the series. So Sorsha and Mad Mardigan had 2 children. Mad Mardigan was off on a quest and hasn't been seen for years. They don't know if he's alive or dead, to find a piece of armor that would hopefully protect Laura Dannon. So the children have never known, who are now, teenagers. The daughter, Kit, and the son, Eric, who have never, they don't know what happened to their father, but they're kind of living their life. When minions of the Crone come to try and take Laura Dannon and, find her. So because the grandchildren, Kit and Eric, have Bavmordia's blood, they can be used for evil, and they take Eric, the son, who was in love with this kitchen maid that he calls Dove, who ends up, we find out by the second episode, is Laura Dannon. Grown up, who had been everyone. Yeah. So, but Kit, her best friend, who trains her in weaponry, the squire of Mad Mardigan, who came back and was found without him and had been in prison, and Sorsha basically guilts him into helping this crew. They then go out to try and find Willow, because that's where Queen Sorsha tells her to start. And the kitchen maid, who finds out she's Laura Dannon when she chases after them, comes across them on their way to find Willow. So they all end up working together to hopefully save Eric and stop the end of the world.
Nice. So there's how many episodes out now?
It's finished, and there's 8 episodes.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
All on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. All right. Well, it sounds good. Sounds interesting. Are you liking it so far?
Finished it. It's a good ticket for itself series. However, it felt like it lost touch with the original, and the fact that by episode 4 they start incorporating modern rock and pop into the episode, and it just doesn't feel the same. Warwick Davis, who plays Willow, does great. I mean, he always is. He's a treat. But I don't know if it held the depth by the end of it.
I don't know that it did either. I'd agree with that. And to that, there's something about, if you've watched the original movie, it had a certain feel of adventure and fantasy in it. And they do their best to incorporate that in this series. But they go off on some weird kind of tangents, whether it's with the character development or, to Jenna's point, some of the theme of the music. They have hints of it where they kind of throw it in there from time to time, but it's not enough, and they make a clear stance that this is something else. And to me, it kind of felt like a little bit. So MTV had a show, to go off on a small tangent, called the Shannara Chronicles.
Yes.
They did a couple seasons of that, and the second season was just complete shit, in my opinion. And it's because they just changed something about it, how they started, that fundamentally changed it, and it wasn't the same, and it was just kind of garbage. Now, that's not to say that the Willow series is garbage. It was actually, I thought, quite entertaining, but it is something in and of itself. And they kind of proved that. Willow, to me, his demeanor and how he acts wasn't like the original Willow. He's obviously changed over the years, and I think that was very much intentional. He's kind of this old cranky sorcerer, and you're not allowed to use magic unless I tell you. You have to go by my instruction. And it's kind of hypocritical of his character, because he considers himself a fraud. He's not a natural sorcerer, if you will. And maybe in some stories or whatever, he's this great magical user, but in reality, it's kind of by pure dumb luck. And here he is trying to teach Dove or Alana Dana, and he's like, hey, yeah, you can only do it this way, and you're only going to do it this way, and this is going to take years for you to master, kind of thing, and start with step 1, and until you master that, then we'll move on to step 2, 3, and 4. And that's not how he learned it. He kind of had to learn it on the fly, and feet to the fire, you better figure it out. And so as they go on this adventure, all the way up to even near the end, they go on this journey, and here they all are before they have to set off on this very long trek to the end of the world to get where they need to go. And when they get to the end of the world and they have to make this final leap of faith, Willow basically nopes out and was like, well, I did my part, I took you here, and I want to go home now. And it's weird, because he just gives up on himself. Like, where was the confidence maybe when the whole thing started, and where he's like, yeah, this is my job, I'm here to protect you, but I'm only going to take you so far, and then I'm going to nope out. It was very weird. Like, they didn't know what to do with him.
No, I mean, that's very true to his character from the first movie, though. Like, it took extraordinary pressure to get Willow to actually sign on to go all the way. He was ready to leave Elora with the first human that they encountered.
That's true.
But you think he was
grown past that. He's evolved into that person at the end of the film, and it's like he's regressed over 17 years, and maybe that's intentional.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see it. It's kind of it kind of mirrors what we saw with Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi.
Okay, yeah.
That he was told he was going to be the next sorcerer. He was going to do great things, and then he was basically kicked out of, or helping out with raise Elora, because the queen was scared of sorcery. All the sorcerers left, so who's going to teach him? And he's got this reputation as a great sorcerer, but he's got confidence was always his biggest problem. That was his problem in the first movie, and we never really saw him in the first movie like get the confidence that he needed to be a great sorcerer.
Well, I can tell you, he still doesn't have it in the series for whatever reason. So
I mean, it's a flaw. Like if he had been this all-powerful sorcerer that they had gone to find, he could have solved all their problems. So like having him be like this actually still gives his character room to grow. I haven't seen the rest of the show yet, so I don't know. I assume that it stops and there's going to be another season.
I mean, there could be. I don't know if there's enough.
Did they resolve it? Everything?
Yes and no. I won't spoil that part for you.
Okay.
But they find a good middle ground we can continue this if we want. Or if it gets canned, they can can it, and you still get this adventure or whatever. But there's more left on the table. I'll say that for sure.
What was not? I'm trying to think. Like, what is it? What is it that didn't make it feel as in touch as the original? And what was fun about the original, I think, is it kind of invited adults to be a part of the adventure. Because if you think about the original Willow, I mean, even though Warwick Davis was 18 when he's played the role, he was supposed to be an adult. He's got kids. Mad Mardigan, grown man. Sorsha, she's expected to be in her 20s, mature, a warrior in her own right. And this fantasy, I don't know if it was as inviting for adults to relate to the characters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there was a lot of immaturity in some of the characters, and it was hard, especially
all
so,
of
like,
the characters.
With Kit starts out very much self-absorbed in the very beginning of this, kind of selfish in her needs and wants, and I'm going to do what I want, and kind of standoffish to me, and she grows out of that to an extent, and starts to embrace maybe some of her feelings towards others, and understands kind of where her place is and what she needs to be doing. Especially to save her brother who gets taken away. But when the whole thing started, there was just a lot of this drama amongst some of the characters and oddness in some of the relationships and things like that, which to me was kind of where, I mentioned earlier, the Shannara Chronicles, they made more importance out of all these little drama things between characters and not enough on the adventure and the storyline and stuff. So there's still an adventure to be had in Willow. I just... it was kind of weird, and where are we going with the character development? And for it to do it all in 8 episodes and get through an adventure seemed like too much kind of stuffed in there.
Yeah, I think it definitely was aimed at a much targeted,
feels like
entirely
targeted
at a much younger audience. But I mean, if there's something I actually miss out of the Willow series from the movie, well, there's a few things, but I miss the brownies. Where are the brownies?
You get them for 5 minutes.
Wait,
5 minutes?
Yeah,
come on.
You do only get them for 5 minutes, and again, I think that's the hints, that's the little throwbacks you get, and then they marched right on and went on and did their own thing, right? So it's just like
the brownies were a huge part of the original movie, and they had George Lucas written all over them as like goofy comedic relief characters, but they were actually good. Like, I thought that they would annoy the hell out of me, but I actually liked some of their bits.
Yeah.
Or a lot of their bits, actually. I just straight up liked the brownies, and I missed them in the new show. Something else I missed, and that might be a reason of the music problem that Jenna mentioned, is that James Horner isn't on the series soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
James Horner did the original soundtrack, and it was good. Like, Willow has some good themes to it, the movie.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to give our audience a wrong impression. There's redeeming qualities, and it's entertaining, but it had a very long shadow to be compared to in terms of the original movie. And I'm afraid they might have strayed too much, like to the point that it probably turned off a lot of the original fans.
I don't know if I was ever well, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't turned off Like, not yet. Like I said, I haven't seen the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, so far,
Turned off is strong, but I will say I started out more turned off about halfway through, and then I started getting re-engaged a little as you get to the second half, and then into the ending, especially when you get into a little bit more of the action and the fighting, and the magic and stuff like that. So,
well, let me ask this question then. So, for somebody that's not familiar with the Willow series,
they're gonna enjoy it.
Would you recommend that they watch the original movie before watching the series?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so, for sure, because there's lore to be known. There's you'll get some of the little tidbits, some of the little nods back to the original will be there. You understand the importance of some of the characters and what their history is. So for sure, you can get through it without it, I think, for sure. But like to Seth's point, when you see the brownies, you get excited about it, but then you'll also be disappointed because now they're just going to walk away and never come back to the brownies. So it's a mix bag.
So I gotta have a question. Val Kilmer was not in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
No.
Did somebody else play his character?
No, they
So
just had the voice. They had some voiceovers for him from time to time. They originally planned on having him there. So at the very last minute, they couldn't make it happen. However, the way the story was written, if the opportunity comes about, they can bring him back for season 2 or whatever else in the future. So they haven't written him out.
Yeah, what happened is that Val Kilmer actually got throat cancer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can't talk.
And he was very concerned about his health and COVID because this would have been filmed right during the pandemic. So that's why he's not there, as he had COVID-19 concerns and very good ones.
Yeah. So as that's kind of lightened up, they're hoping, if they move forward with the season 2, that there'll be opportunities to bring him back on screen. In the interview they did with him, he even showed like he's excited, he wants to do it, and he says, I'm still as strong as ever. He's still very strong. He's like, I'm ready to do this, but the timing just didn't work out. So they have him there in spirit for sure. He's referenced a lot, and again, they haven't written him out in the way they did the story. So there's hope. There's optimism that you'll get to see him still in another season.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, you could definitely just watch this series without watching the movie.
Yeah.
I think it actually is framed very well so that you don't have to if you don't want to watch the original movie. But you will end up wondering who this Mad Mardigan guy that they keep talking about is. Like, I think that would be the biggest problem with not watching the movie, is you're not going to have any clue who. Like, they keep talking about Mad Mardigan, and you're like thinking, "Oh, we're definitely going to see this guy soon."
Yeah, some of the core character directions, their history revolves around him. So, very important things that have happened to them, or even betrayals for that matter. You have a guest appearance by Christian Slater at one point. Here, masquerading as him. So so there's stories along betrayal and friendships and all that kind of stuff, and it's worth it. It was enjoyable. I won't say that I was disappointed or anything. I enjoyed it. There's a couple things that didn't make any effing sense to me at all, so spoiler warning. Graydon. He is apparently also a magic user, and it literally comes out of effing nowhere.
Who's Graydon?
He's the prince.
The guy who was supposed to marry Kit.
Oh, okay, yeah. So he's the one who can read all this. He can read magic and stuff, so I guess it's not that too.
Yeah, well, and so they hint to that he's either very, very intelligent as far as a useful skill from that matter, and he seems to be able to read and understand a lot of different languages. But he's a very, compared to Willow, I guess comparable to Willow. He's a powerful sorcerer too, and that comes out later in the series. And it's frustrating because there's not a whole lot that kind of leads up to it. And it almost makes a mockery a little bit of how rare magic users were, given what they kind of imply in the series.
Mhm.
And then he's just, I don't know, it just felt kind of right at the time. Let me grab my flute and blow this thing out of the sky, because it just felt right at the time with no training whatsoever or anything. And now all of a sudden,
Yeah, I was just listening to you and Laura Dannon and when talking to Willow, and I just focused, like you said.
I wanted to throw my chair through the TV at that point. I went back and watched it like 3 times and was like, how did we get here? Like, you just skipped over something.
See, what would be hilarious is if at that moment, like, everyone looks at each other and they're just like, wait, can everyone do magic?
Right. Yeah, that was kind of like, wait, so like I just, you could just do it. And so now look, don't get me wrong, it didn't ruin anything per se, but it did make the use of magic a little bit more casual than I thought it should be, given how much everyone else kind of struggled to use it. And he uses it on a whim and then continues training with Willow and Dove and how this is supposed to, in strengthening their powers and everything. And it just seems to come so natural to him. So there's some really cool scenes when they go through some of their training and they're preparing for this final battle. Pretty cool stuff. I thought that was totally worth it, and them learning how magic works and everything. But up until that point, it had been very difficult for people to use magic, or it was taxing on their bodies. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, no, we just use it casually now. We just point and zap things and it's no big deal. And I was like, wait, when did we make this cutover? So I feel like something was skipped there. And again, you only have 8 episodes to work with in the season. So it's one of those, we have to kind of keep things moving without dragging things out.
Is this guy just here for the eye candy?
Prince.
But that's Eric. That's Kit's brothers. And of course, let me just say, he does a good job being Mad Mardigan's son.
Yes.
Yeah. When I first saw him, I was like, yeah, that's Mad Mardigan's son. That is 1000% that guy's son.
Yeah. So they clean him up a little bit as you get in the last couple episodes. He'll don some new gear and be a little bit different, but watch it. I think it's definitely worth it.
Can I just say though, it's interesting that we live in a time that Chris we only have 8 episodes, and that's an 8-hour movie. Yeah. And we're now spoiled to the point that we want that length, that depth and length in a series and in a story.
Yeah, we can't get everything that we want. So we get kind of this full, complete story. And then there's some things we wish they spent more time on, and other things that we wish they didn't spend any time on. So yeah, it was good though. I mean, so if I was to give it like a rating, for sure, watch or don't watch the original is up to you, but I think you'll appreciate it more if you do. And for me, it was like 7 out of 10, and it would go up if they did do another season for me, to continue the storyline and go into some other things. So there are some things I think that kind of drug it back. We talked about the soundtrack not being as good as it probably could have been. And frankly, it wasn't memorable. The only parts of the soundtrack that really drew me into the story more were the nods, were the little bit of faint throwbacks to the original Willow film, because it was a memorable soundtrack. It was, everyone had their kind of own kind of theme. And in this Willow series, no one, in my opinion, really had their own kind of theme. It was just more modern and dark in some places, or like more pop in others. So that was annoying AF to a degree. And really, the only time, and I love scores for films. I'm a big music person. So
yeah.
Not having that to attribute to this Willow series, I think was a huge drawback for something that had such iconic things.
Mm-hmm. James Horner, absolute hero. So the Willow series and the most recent Star Wars trilogy kind of frames a problem for me we've got with our modern, we're going to make everything that was happening back in the 80s and we're gonna make a new version of it, either a continuation of the story or remaking the story. But Willow has the same problem that with that Star Wars had, in that they're counting on this one character to basically solve all their problems. And from a story writing perspective, you can't have that main character solve all their problems, or you remove all of the tension from your story. Because, I mean, Luke would have been the equivalent of putting a level 18 sorcerer in a party of level 3 characters. And it's just like, okay, what are the other characters going to do with Luke motherfucking Skywalker just like crushing Death Stars with his mind in the sky? Like, what do you have the rest of the cast do then? And it is the same thing with Willow. Like, if you just went from the movie, he would have been just this immensely powerful sorcerer who the characters would have gone to him and would have just been like, yeah, okay, I magic this way, I magic that away, I magic this way, you're good. And there's no story there then. They just went to see the wizard and he solved all their problems.
Yeah.
And they kind of violated their own rules because magic is supposed to be the bloodstream of the universe. So you shouldn't, in theory, run out. You should, in theory, just be able to tap it. And he was worried about using his magic because he was afraid he was going to run out of magic to protect Laura Dannon.
So wasn't there a barrier? There was some
They
sort of
talked
barrier.
about it there, yes, earlier, yes.
Yeah, they were talking about a magical barrier.
Yes,
I assumed that he was the one who made the barrier.
No, Riziel and the fairy Clemendra.
Clement.
However you say her name.
Fairy
The
Chlamydia.
one who gave
Did you say the fairy chlamydia?
No.
He did. I heard you, Chris.
All right. Well,
So,
go ahead.
Just have an open mind, folks.
Yeah, I mean, the fairy Chlamydia was happy to be able to help with the barrier because no one really ever asked her to do much. No one really is interested in
Since you're
talking
going
to the
down
fairy
that
Chlamydia for
road,
He
Well,
just called her chlamydia.
there's probably, in reality, probably we could write in a fairy Chlamydia into a started, which is
Wait,
which is probably where the fairy Chlamydia exists. We should probably talk about that for a little bit because on the humor side of things, if you haven't watched this show, it's pretty great.
It does have some very funny stuff. Like, it has some good writing and some very good dialogue, I feel.
All right.
And what's her name? Kit?
Yeah.
Princess's? No, that's who's the princess's friend?
Jade.
Oh, Jade.
Yeah, Jade. She's a really good actress. We saw her last in
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. She was the antagonist in that.
Yeah.
So
she's doing a lot with Disney. Erin Kelly.
good for her. I love her hair.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, should we jump into Vox Machina?
Yeah.
All right. So, who wants to take off? Linda and I haven't gotten into the current season yet.
Did you watch the last season?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the current one picks up right where the last one left off. So they're all kind of celebrating their win and their triumph over evil, and then some dragons show up. Now, how the second season starts is these dragons show up in full force and just absolutely fucking kick some ass and obliterate.
Yeah, collateral damage.
The Chroma Conclave.
Yes.
So
the way season 2 kind of shapes up is we have our adventures there. Right where we left off, like I said, and these dragons show up and basically set a new tone for the people there, and that we rule now, and you're under you're only here because we have some level of mercy after we probably killed about 80% of the population. So they come in and they kill the ruler, who just gave up his reign anyways. So they kill the main guy, most of his knights, kill like half the town, destroy pretty much everything. Say again, Jenna?
Blew up his castle.
Yes,
they were not.
Castle, destroy pretty much everything, and our adventurers have to escape.
They fight.
They rarely do.
They fight the dragons a couple times and are completely ineffective against them.
Yeah, so we've seen them come a long way. They've all kind of discovered their powers in the first season, their strengths and any abilities, and none of that helps them out to start this out. So they narrowly escape. Lots of loss, lots of people died, and where it kind of shapes up to is these adventurers now have to go on a journey to find whatever power or help it is they need to kind of take on these dragons. So some pretty funny bits, per usual, as Vox Machina does. And that's kind of the start of the season. I've only caught the first couple episodes, but if you guys have other things you want to add or some details in there, let's jump into it.
I feel like this season is definitely keeping the pace of the first season. It's entertaining, it's fun. The adventures and the folklore are definitely bring you in and engage you. This does for me what I missed out for Willow, the series.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, so this is definitely giving us a much bigger taste of Exandria so far than we saw in the last one, which kind of kept us in the same kingdom. But now we're seeing a bit more of the world, and I think we're gonna see some interesting monsters, some horrible fights, lots of blood, some sex, probably some boobs. Definitely a butt if we haven't already seen a butt.
Yes, a butt for sure, or boobs, depending on who you ask. Yes.
So it has all the things.
Yeah.
But so what I've seen so far, like the voice acting, there you can't get a better voice acting cast than these people. Like they just have so many good voices on this show. And the story is great. Like, I love it. I think that there are rumors that Critical Role is another company that's developing their own system. And I think this is going to get a lot of people into the world of Exandria.
Yeah, it should be
Or
good.
continue.
It's a fun world. Lots of mysteries in there, I think. One of the things I liked about episode 2 was they're all kind of individually challenged on where their shortcomings are, and they all kind of set on this path of what they have to discover about themselves to get stronger and whatnot. And the funny part was oh my gosh, let me find him real quick, the big strong guy, Rog. So he gets his ass beat by an old man. Okay,
I just did that episode where that's going to happen.
So that was pretty great, because the old man's just basically asking, like, hey, where do you get your strength from? You don't know what strength is. Sure I do. Look at me. And then proceeds to get his ass beat.
That was pretty good.
It was. So thank you. So he gets his ass beat, and then the next morning is just like, anyone want a drink? Like, I could use a drink right now. So it's pretty great, and they keep that humor there. But again, like I said, it sets the tone that the characters now, they've had this triumph, and now they've been put back in their place, and they've got to rise up to that challenge again to figure out how to deal with these dragons who, frankly, seem unbeatable. To be frank, like, let me make no mistake, there was just nothing but murder and death in the first episode.
That dragon they killed in the first season. He's the weakling of the family.
Yeah. Turns out he was nothing. So we're talking about acid spitting dragons, ice spitting dragons, fire spitting dragons, whole bunch of crazy
Noxious gas.
Yeah, noxious gas. Yeah, the gas thing was crazy.
And so all these dragons are together in this conclave.
Yeah, they're all working together, and they come and they attack the town, and it just seems impossible to beat. So they've ventured out to another city, Valheim.
Westrun.
Yes, that place.
Valheim.
And so they've been sent
Vasselheim.
Yes, Vasselheim.
Yeah,
let's look up names as we go here.
This happens.
So they've been told basically that they have to go find this. They have to go explore this temple to find this vestige, this kind of artifact,
which is armor.
Thing. Yeah, some kind of special thing, and that's where they need to kind of start to find ways to overcome what it is they need to do. And where they went, to ask for help, nobody basically wanted to help them. They basically. There's this town full of very, very strong united groups of people that have a strong force that could probably help. But their reasoning for not stepping in and helping them was that because they kind of isolate themselves in the world, that's what keeps them safe. That's what keeps them strong. They don't get into other people's business. So that was kind of, I could see that, but at the same time, it was also like, oh, you're just a bunch of bitches. So it is what it is. But yeah, it'll be good. I think it started out, bam, murder, death, blood, chaos. And now we get to start out in this adventure, and it's got humor. It's got everything that you had in the first season, and then some. They didn't skip a beat.
If you're having a rough day and you get home from work and you just need something to pick you up, check out the Vox Machina. And then what they're doing is half the season is out, and they're releasing 3 episodes a week until they hit 12 episodes. So we got 2 more weeks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and if you like the show, you should give their the live play a listen. I watched their latest kind of mini season of Exandria Unlimited, where they covered the calamity that happened like at the end of the Great Magical Age, and that was some good watching. I was fully like just like openly weeping towards the end because it's a tragedy.
Huh. All right.
Wow.
But it's fun and funny all the way through, right up until the end.
Nice.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, thank you guys for bringing us up to date on that. We were going to talk about The Last of Us, but we're kind of running out of time here. And Last of Us is only really 2 episodes in, so we will cover that next show. There should be by then 3 or 4 episodes out. So that'll give us something to chat about there. So something to look forward to. And we'll be really looking forward by the next time we chat to the premiere of Star Trek Picard, which comes out February 16th. Right. So lots of good
Worf's
stuff coming. What's that?
Worf's in this season.
Yes, all the original TNG cast are in there, I think, except for Wesley. We saw him the end of last season. He's still a traveler doing his traveling thing. So we know what he's up to. So it'll be great to see the whole cast back together again after quite some time. So something to look forward to. It'll be my happiest time and my saddest time.
Yeah, because they're definitely killing Picard at the end of season 3.
They are?
They kind of got to, right?
No. He's got that android body. He can go on forever. Well, not really. But
it was specifically programmed to only give him the rest of his natural lifespan. He's going to die at the end of this season. You got to prepare yourself.
No, he's not dying. Don't say that.
You have to prepare yourself. They are going to kill Picard at the end of this.
Okay, we got to go now.
Hard. I'm going to mute you.
Mute.
Bill's kind of going on a tirade now.
Yeah. I'm muting. That's blasphemy. All right. Well, thank you all. We will, I'm sure, continue this argument next time we get together. So,
they're going to kill that captain.
Stop it.
Damn you. Thank you all for tuning in. If you have thoughts or comments on either of the shows we talked about this episode, please note them down below. If there's other stuff you want to see us chat about in the future, let us know that as well. And we'll look forward to talking to you next time. Till then, have a great week, y'all, and get out there and watch some of the stuff we're talking about. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Later.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.